To my lesson on geometry, similar figures. One thing I want you to come away with from this lesson is recognizing that similar figures have the same shape but are just different sizes. I want to do an application problem here because that's generally how this is going to be tested on the GED. I'm going to draw a picture here, and I'm going to pretend that the height of this right triangle is depicting a tree that is 40 feet tall, and it's casting a shadow that is 70 feet long. And I'm going to have a person standing over here, and he is 6 feet tall, and we want to know how long his shadow is. Can't forget Mr. Sunshine. Okay, what I can do here is I can set up a ratio. Actually, I need to analyze this a little bit. It kind of makes sense that if these two figures are the exact same shape, and they actually are because one is sitting inside the other, I have two right triangles in here. It kind of makes sense that the ratio of two sides of one figure should be equal to the ratio of two corresponding sides of the other figure. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a ratio of my height to shadow. And what I'm going to do is create a proportion problem. So I'm going to set up my structure here. I want to look at the height and the shadow of my large figure. The large figure is 40 feet tall and the shadow is 70 feet long. In my smaller figure, I know that this person is 6 feet tall, and we are working to find his shadow down here. So this is the component that we're looking for. Okay, we can see that we've got a proportion problem here, and we're going to look at our diagonal of numbers, and that is where we multiply. And then we're going to turn around and divide by the term that is left over. So 70 times 6, and then we're going to divide that by 40. And when we enter that into our calculator, we're going to find that our shadow is 10.5 feet long. Okay, and that was just looking at the height to shadow ratios. I could also look at this and see that I could set up a different type of ratio. I could look at the ratio of our heights, which would be 40 over 6, equal to our shadow, which would be 70 over blank. And what I was doing is I was looking at the ratio, looking at the larger height to the smaller height, comparing the longer shadow to the smaller. But basically we're going to see that it's the same multiplication and division by the same numbers. And that is generally how the GED often tests this. Not so much solve and find, but possibly what could be a correct ratio that could be used. So you'd want to go ahead and set up a ratio that you know would solve. Look and see that you have the same, a similar diagonal and division in the correct answer from your options there. Another way that you might see it, in this case we had two figures sitting inside each other. What I also want you to recognize is that we might see it where we have two separate figures like this, and we are told that they are going to be similar to each other, and maybe we are not. We've got these degree measures in here that tell us. When we have two different sized figures and we see that we have the exact same degree measures in here, we know then that we have similar figures, same shape, different sizes. We are not going to calculate with those degree measures. They are just there to prove to us that we have similar figures. But again, we could look at a ratio comparing the measures of the sides of the small figure to the measures of the sides of the large figure. Okay, so I'm going to start with the small figure. The small figure has, my lower is 2. The lower measure on the large figure is 4. I'm going to look at the right side of my small figure is A. The right side of my large figure is 10. The top of my small figure, here is 3. The top of my large figure is D. And the left of my small figure is C. And the left of my large figure is 8. So basically, I have a ratio here that is complete. So I could use that to solve for A. I could also set up another proportion problem over here and plug in this one here to solve for D. Or I could take that 2 over 4 and put it equal to the last ratio and solve for that missing one there. So basically, this little rigmarole that I did down here is just setting it up and getting everything organized, but it all starts with that word ratio of comparing small to large. Thank you for joining me on this lesson on similar figures.